Hi everyone, my name is Kirsty and welcome back to Upside Down Books. Today we're going to be doing my TBR for August and it is going to be a special TBR. Non più tra I farfalloni amoroso, notte giorno di torno. First things first, I am still doing my survey and I'm going to be saying this probably for a little bit longer, so please, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, first of all, I'm a postgraduate student at university and I'm writing a thesis. I'm doing research on BookTube and book sales, basically, the publicity world. I'm looking at those interactions and I'm conducting research on audience members of BookTube to find out what they like and what they like watching. So if you haven't completed my survey yet, then please go to the link down below and fill it out. It doesn't take long to do. Every answer would be so helpful, so thank you so much to everyone who has completed it so far, and thank you so much if you do it now. So usually I have my TBR jar system. You can see how that works up above, and you can go and watch any previous months if you are really hankering for some TBR jar picks, but we are not doing that this month. We're having a special TBR. So usually I would be picking 6 books, and that should be guiding my reading for the month, and then I usually don't read them, or I read like 2 of them because life. But it's August and there are 2 things that usually happen in August which I would like to participate in this year to hone in on a particular aspect of my TBR. So one month-long readathon that usually happens in August is ARC August, so Advanced Reader Copy August, and that's a chance for people who review books in advance, who are a little bit behind, like I tend to be, to spend a whole month dedicated to catching up and clearing out the TBR, and I really need to do that. I have so many various TBR challenges happening at the moment. There is one particular challenge I am starting regarding my backlist, but I am going to be talking about that in my wrap-up video slash a whole separate video for it, so if you wanna know what that is, then I'm gonna tease you and I'm not gonna tell you now, because we're looking at ARCs today. So I have an enormous backlog. Usually one of my whole TBR jars is dedicated to old ARCs that I haven't read yet. I think I have some books that are a couple years old that I got sent. I've still not read them. Now in this case, that sounds horrible. A lot of these are unsolicited ones, which mean they simply get sent to me. I haven't requested them, and I will take a picture and talk about them around the time of their release, but I might not review them. However, there are some that I have requested that have slipped through the cracks. That is what is in that usual TBR jar. But this August, don't think any of these books will be in there because these are all my reasonably current ones, and there are just so many at the moment and I'm excited about all of them, but there's just been this flurry of books I really want to read and review, and there's been quite a few unsolicited copies that have landed on my desk, so to speak, that I'm also really interested in reading. So as such, we're going to be doing that as part 1 of 2 of all the challenges that I'm going to be doing in August. I really don't know how this is going to go down because I've had some really good reading months, but I have like double the number of like pages I could probably read in a month here, so I'm so excited to get to like September and see how I go. But the second part of the reading challenge that I am setting myself for my TBR in August is to clear my currently reading pile. I can be a real chronic non-finisher sometimes, and I will just end up with like a stack of books that I've got halfway through and for whatever reason have got distracted and moved on. Now what I had originally planned, and I was thinking about this last August, is I saw that there was a Tome Topple readathon like session happening last August, and I literally wrote it down a whole year ago being like, I want to do this next year. But Tome Topple is not happening in August. Best laid plans. So I am not able to participate in it. I did debate simply doing my own Tome Topple, just doing it asynchronous to the last session that happened in March, but I also then thought, Kirsty, can you really do a Tome Topple readathon on top of, you know, ARC August? And I thought the answer was no, so I'm gonna just make it slightly easier and just finish off books that I am in the middle of that haven't been finished for a long time. And most of those probably would qualify for Tome Topple. So I'm gonna actually start with those and show you what these books are. There are 3 of them that I've been trying to finish for a really long time. Let's get into it. So the first book that's going to be a part of this challenge, of my Clear My Bedside Table challenge, let's call it that, is The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch. So as you can see, I'm roughly halfway through this book and I've been really enjoying it, but the font in this edition is really quite small and it's dense, it's heavy going, and like I like it, but I don't love this book so far. I've been told it suddenly just picks up, but I'm a little bit annoyed that it hasn't picked up even by this point. However, I do want to finish it. I think I started this like a whole year ago potentially at this point. That's how long it has been on my bedside table, and I've just been reading tiny bits of it at a time. So in August, this will be my prime suspect that I will be trying to clear off my bedside table and finish. I am at page 304 out of 537. So I've got like 240 pages to go. I think I can do it. I hope I can do it. I'd really love to see this one finished, reviewed, and read. So this is the first one for that challenge. I then have an absolute beast that I'm just over halfway finished, and that is Magician by Raymond Feist. This is a bind-up of 2 books, and you can see that I am over halfway through this book. I am probably closer to like 60% of the way through. This is a really lovely floppy edition, and I was originally listening to this on audiobook, so I have done this much on audiobook, but I was just not digging the audiobook format. It wasn't working for me. I just found that this is a really complex fantasy, and honestly, I might have to go back and reread parts. I'm not sure how I feel. I was this close to DNFing this book, and then I thought, you know what, I have a feeling that my issue is not with the story, but that the audiobook format's not working for me. I really needed to just sit down and read this so that I could dedicate my full attention. It just wasn't working when I was trying to drive or do chores because I would zone out, I'd miss something important, and it wasn't one of those books where you can do that and just pick it up later on and work out what's going on. That just was not a thing. I was just perpetually confused. So I think at this point I went, no, enough. I'm going to find a physical copy, because this is my dad's copy, which I borrowed, and I'm going to try and finish it. So if this continues to not capture my attention, I keep going. I'll be a little bit disappointed if I DNF at this point, because it's such a hefty boy. This one is over 800 pages long, so it is a really, really long book, but yeah, we'll see. So far these are definitely classifying if Tome Topper was running, but alas, it is not. So yeah, the main question with this one will be, do I need to go back and reread like 100 pages to wherever I got confused to find my way back or not? But yeah, so that is book 1 in this series, and this is book 2. So I'm not very far into book 2, you can see. That's how this bind up works. So yeah, I want to love the series, so I'm hoping that in August I will just find a few hours to sit down and polish it off. So where I'm at in this one, I'm at page 497 out of 841. A few hundred to go on that one. And then the last beast that I want to read, but I won't be too upset if I don't get to this in amongst everything else, is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas. Yes, I have not read this yet. As you can see, I've actually like got distracted super early on. I've only read like 70 pages of this book. Not because it's bad, but because I started reading that. I read the 70 pages like the day it came out, and then I just had so many other things on my TBR. I was like, I don't have time to sit down and read this beast right now. I'm gonna have to wait for when I've got a bit more time. However, I really want to read this, and it's bothering me that I've just sort of stalled in the middle of a Sarah J Maas book. It's basically a sin. So I have most of this book to read, and it is obviously huge. Obviously there's a bit of a theme here with me not getting through my big books. So I'm at page 67 out of 749. So like basically I've got 650 plus pages to read, so it's quite a lot of pages to get through. But I mean, it's Sarah J Maas, it's YA fantasy. It'll be so much easier to read than both of these other books, so I'm not expecting there'll be too many challenges once I actually get going. I have read Sarah J Maas books quite fast in the past, especially this series. I read the final book or the second book like within a couple of days, which was an outrageous achievement for me because that was around 700 pages as well. So that is the third and final book on the Clear My Bedside Table challenge that I'm setting myself in August. Just a big old cleanup we're doing in August. So that brings me on to all the arcs. Now, I am not anticipating that in August I'm going to read all of these. External to my reading life, I'm still writing my thesis, as I mentioned earlier. I am working and things are just busy, so I am under the pump. And yeah, I mean, like, I'm my own worst enemy for requesting some of these books. So let's start with like the books that I have on my Kindle. My Kindle is adorable, isn't it? I love this case. So I have a few books on my NetGalley TBR. I shouldn't have a whole TBR for NetGalley, but they have backed up a little bit. So some of my Kindle books, my books I've got to review from NetGalley on my Kindle, are not to be published yet for a couple months. I had a whole plan back in March where I sorted out like what books I was going to read in what month on NetGalley, because I don't read that many ebooks, but I do love the ease and accessibility of NetGalley when it comes to getting copies of things I might not be able to get so easily from the publisher themselves, like in a physical edition. So the ones that have already been published that I want to get to are How to Disappear by Bruno Gomes. So I think I talked about this a couple months ago, probably in a haul or something like that. This is a book entirely written in second perspective, so it's like you and it's addressing the readers. And I'm really excited to read it. It is 164 pages, so it's really quick. So perhaps I will start August with this potentially to try and just whack a book, done, finish, get it done, tick it off, feel good about myself. So that is one of the ones I really want to get around to. It came out at the beginning of June. I then have Saving Seymour, which is by an L.N. Locke. This was actually sent to me by the author. It was an independent review request. I feel awful that I haven't got to it yet. I really want to. It's about a world where everyone sees in black and white until you find your true love, and then you can see color. This one came out in the middle of June, so I really want to get around to it soon. It's only just over 300 pages, so it should be a reasonably quick read for me to get through. And then I had a book that I really shouldn't have requested, but I just couldn't help myself because I love the cover and the premise, and that is The Freedom Race, which is written by Lucinda Joy. This came out like in the middle of July, so we're not too far gone on that one. And I just think that this sounds amazing. Because I have so many books to talk about in this video, I'm not going to tell you what they're about unless I can summarize it really quickly. So if you're interested in any of these books, then go and check them out yourself. Otherwise, we will be here for hours. But yeah, I'm really excited about this book. It is 416 pages though, so it's more of a standard size book, a little bit more of a commitment here, and we will see where that fits in the grand scheme of things. Some of the other arcs I have to read, I'm going to tell you everything that I've got on when it comes to arcs. So we are all up to date with everything here, because I'm basically going to have some that I prioritize, and then I'm just going to be picking from the rest to see how many I can get through. So the other arcs that are on my TBR is The Tempest of Brevoort, which is coming out at the end of August, and I am quite excited about this one. It is a 280-page fantasy novel, and I am expecting good things from it. So again, thankfully it's on the shorter side. Then I have Sisters of the Wolf by Patricia Miller Schroeder. Now, I'm actually not sure if I'm going to review this or not. I'm going to give it a go, but I actually... this came like as a PDF format through NetGalley, which I was really surprised with because PDF is not a very accessible or nice to read format. So I may just send them feedback back and say, look, that's not good enough in my books, because I mean, I've got to read it on a computer. I can't really do it on my Kindle, or I'm not going to because it'd be too small. So we're gonna like put a pin in that one, but I do have it. It's like about the Ice Age times, so I'm really interested, and it's 330 pages, so we'll see. I'll let you know how I go with that. And then coming out at the beginning of September is No Gods, No Monsters by Cadwell Turnbull. This I'm pretty sure has already got some pretty good reviews. I've seen a few people that have reviewed it, and it's about 330 pages. So there's no whoppers on there, and I definitely think that No Gods, No Monsters sounds fascinating. Definitely go and have a look at that one. But that's everything that's on my Kindle. These are the books that are beside my bed that I have for review. So the first one is What You Can See From Here by Mariana Leckie. This was sent to me by Bloomsbury, and I cannot wait to read this one. It's set in Western Germany, and there's no copy on the cover. I'm obsessed with copies. This is not long. This one is just over 300 pages. This came out at the beginning of July. I've then got quite a thick book, and that is The City of Zodia by Maria V. Snyder. I am really excited about this. It's the sequel to The Eyes of Tambura, so I know that I love this world and these characters, but it is clocking in at just shy of 500 pages, so it is going to be quite a long read. It looks pretty thick, but I am not that put off by that because I know that I really enjoy this really rich and unique fantasy world, so quite excited about this one. It also came out at the beginning of July. I've then got this book called A Long Petal of the Sea by Isabel Allende. I am a little bit confused about when this book actually came out. This was sent to me by Bloomsbury, and I'm thrilled to have been sent a copy, but I thought it came out at the beginning of the year, but I got a copy of it in June, I think. So I'm honestly not sure if this particular edition came out later in the year, but I thought that I just wasn't going to be getting a copy of this. Nonetheless, it's historical fiction. It's got quite small fonts. I don't think this will be a particularly fast read, and it's just over 300 pages, but I really, really want to read the story. So I will be reading this one. I just really don't know when it came out in the year. So I've then got this beautiful hardback book from Simon & Schuster, which is The Last Shot by Jackson Frillo, who is a MasterChef judge here in Australia. That may be somewhere where you are, where you might recognize him from. If you're not from Australia, I really don't know how well known he is on the international stage, but this is this beautiful hardback edition, and I think this is coming out on the 28th of July, so that's actually ahead of time from when I'm filming, but I will be trying to review this for around the beginning of August, so this will be something I'm going to be trying to read quite soon. If I can read it before August, that would be amazing, but I'm not sure I have quite that much faith in myself. So this is obviously non-fiction. It's a memoir. It's got really big fonts, so I'm not too worried about the size. I also think it'll be quite interesting, so hopefully it's not too slow paced for me. It's just shy of 400 pages. It's around the 370 mark, so we will see how we go with this one, but I'm really excited about reading it. I then have The Last of the Apple Blossom by Marie Lou Stevens. Now this is an unsolicited copy, so I did not request this one, but it is part of the Bookstack book club over on Facebook, which is run by Harley Quinn, which is an imprint of HarperCollins, and I am a Bookstack insider, as they are called. So there's a few of us bloggers that are reviewing books and sort of helping them talk, like, hype up the books each month, essentially, which is really lovely to be involved in that way. And this has some beautiful embossing on it, as you can see in that shimmer there. So I am hoping to read this one reasonably soon. I think it's coming out, it must be coming out at the very end of July for it to be the August book of the month. The last book of the month they picked was amazing, so I have pretty high hopes. This one is 440 pages, so it is on the longer side, but I think it'll be relatively light to read. It is set in the 1960s in Tasmania, which is in Australia, so I am looking forward to it, but I'm like not getting too excited just in case this isn't my cup of tea, because it doesn't look like my cup of tea. But Harlequin usually sends me pretty good books, so I'm not going to judge it by its cover. I'm not going to do that. The next book, it's just endless, is one I'm so excited about and one I really hope I get around to reading, but it is a mammoth. And that one is The House of Always by Jen Lyons. So this was actually sent to me by Pan Macmillan, or their imprint Tor, which is their sci-fi fantasy imprint, and it's not actually too bad when you look at it from the side. It is actually smaller than book 3, which was the Memory of Souls. So this is book 4 in the Chorus of Dragons series. The first book is called The Ruin of Kings. You may have seen that. It's been reasonably popular, and I have actually reviewed every installment so far, and I honestly just want to say, like, the biggest thank you to Pam Macmillan for sending me these books, because it is one of my new favorite fantasy series, and I just feel so like privileged and honored that I'm actually still getting these review copies. Not that I'm not usually reviewing them on time. So I believe that this paperback edition is coming out somewhere around the 7th or 9th of August, around that time in August. The paperback has already been released. It was released in May, so there will already be reviews and people talking about that, but very kindly I've been sent the paperback. So yeah, this one is clocking in at just over 500 pages. So in all honesty, it's not that scary. You can kind of see like the font's a little on the small side, but I'm not too stressed. It's really, I found this fantasy series to be one that if I just sit down with no distractions and get through it, it's quite easy to read, and they're just always such good reads. So really, really looking forward to that one. It's probably my most anticipated book on this TBR. I then have one that is sorely overdue a review, and I've been like putting it on TBR after TBR after TBR, and for some reason I have not got around to the damn thing. And that is The Codebreakers by Ellie Sinclair. So this actually came to me from HarperCollins. I requested this one. I really wanted to read this one. I'm so disappointed in myself for not having got to it sooner, but hey, at least it's on like the forefront of your guys' minds, hopefully, because I just keep saying I'm going to read it. It's done by the imprint Mirror, and it is World War II historical fiction set in Brisbane, Australia, so on the east coast of Australia, and I'm so excited to read it. I really just want to get to it. I just don't know what's been happening, and I think it's probably maybe the size and how busy I've been. I've just not been able to squeeze it in. So this is probably going to be a priority book for me out of all of the physical books on my ARC TBR. It is 464 pages, so it's not too long. It's actually got huge font, if you can see that from there. So it should be a relatively quick read. And Steph from Novelty Corner, whose channel I will link below, has told me that this book is incredible. So I trust her opinion, and yeah, I better get to September with this read, or I will be so upset with myself. Now, there's 2 extra books that I think I'm probably not going to get around to, but I'm going to talk about them because they are on my bedside table already. I've just been sent them super far in advance. So I've got 2 more books from Harlequin Australia. So I've got The Unusual Abduction of Avery Conifer by Isla Evans, and then I've got Birds of a Feather by Trisha Stringer. So I'm looking forward to reading both of these ones, but again, this comes out in September and this comes out in October, so I've got a little bit of wiggle room with these ones, but I'm really, really curious about this one. I think that the title is really captivating, so I definitely want to get around to that one. Let's all see what happens. These are all the books I'm planning to read in August. I'm very excited about this TBR and the prospect, the potential of maybe clearing like my review copies, my bedside table, and just having sort of a soul cleanse where I get on top of my reading. That would make me really happy. This is definitely causing me some stress at this point. I don't think I'm that far behind on my reading other than The Codebreakers. All of these have sort of come out late June to July, and I'm filming this around the 20th of July. So I'm not feeling too guilty. I've just sort of ended up with a lot of books all at once. So I'm really excited about all the books. I so hope I get to them. All up it's 12 physical books and what, like 6 Kindle books. So I could read a good portion of these, depending on how the pacing goes. I will not read all of them. Let's not even pretend that that's gonna happen. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below which ones you think sound the most exciting, or let me know how many books out of the 18 books on my TBR that you think I'm gonna read. I'd love to know how many books you'll actually think I'll get to, because I've had some pretty wild swings over the last few months as to how many books I've been reading per month. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, and other than that, I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.